word. Well, why in the world is the head of the FBI surprised about material that the DOA and the FBI gave to Congress? I have to wonder what's going on with the head of the FBI. If he is shocked, then we all are in a very worrisome place here. Go ahead, Lee.
Well, let's talk about the real problem here. The problem is not rogue agents. The problem is institutional. The problem is, I'll use the term deep state. You could also call it the persistent state. It is not a shock at all that the CIA is involved in this, because the fact is, whoever is in the White House, whoever is in Congress, there is a persistent group of people who stay from administration to administration. It's an unelected fourth branch of government, and that's what's happening. This is an institutional thing, and whatever you think of Donald Trump, whatever you think of his policies, I'm a Trump supporter, but if you don't like him, it doesn't make any difference. He was clearly an outsider who the deep state, the persistent state, was very, very worried about. And part of that apparatus is also the media. I cover a lot of White House press briefings. Let's flash back to last spring. Over and over and over again, I was in that room, in the White House press briefing room, when Trump came out and said that I was wiretapped. He said it. Remember that? The media acted as though he was a crazy person, and it was 5 days of questioning. And I remember every media outlet was tag teaming each other. Hey, you ask this, I'll ask that. Now, cut to the last week. I was in 3 briefings last week at the White House, and I was there the first time a question was asked about releasing this memo. I had sat through a number of briefings. It had already been on social media, right? And it had already been out. By the way, why was it on social media? Because over 100 Republican congressmen looked at it. It's not Russian bots. When 100 Republican congressmen look at something and go, we think this should come out, it's going to resonate through particularly Republican social media. Well, so part of what's going on here is the media needs to cover it up.
Well, yeah, because they're complicit. And HA, I mean, and this is.
That's what I was going to say.
I was watching MSNBC and CNN, and they're terrified of this memo. I mean, watching them go blue in the face, saying, "But what about national security? What about this? It's Trump's fault." I mean, they don't even want. I mean, I thought sunshine was the best cure here. I mean, that was an old liberal mantra, at least the way I was growing up. Okay, I mean, they want to continue to live in darkness, where they bring the public with them every single night. Go ahead, H. Be a very interesting parlay if it happens. Go ahead, Lee.
This is what I think the danger is. When I say this is a disinformation campaign, it's really important to understand this. All the narratives lead to Russia bad. That's what I'm saying. The Democrat narrative leads to Russia bad. We know that, that's clear. But the Republican narrative also leads to Russia bad. And that's the point. This has been a very successful disinformation campaign because the facts are actually not that difficult to determine. Anybody can look into this for themselves and learn the facts of this case. They can see what CrowdStrike did. They can see who Natalia Veselnitskaya, who's that Russian, well, let's just talk about that. She's that Russian lawyer. That's all you need to say. She's already been cast as like Natasha, right, in the Rocky and Bullwinkle, right? She's that Russian lawyer.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? On Friday, it's Universal Tribalism Day. It's the day you're supposed to get together with your tribe, get together with your warriors, go fight somebody. Go find somebody to fight. Don't read right. It is non-slavery day. It is Friday, the day where we remember, damn it, what are humans supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be living life. We're not supposed to be working for big corporations, fighting over scraps of dollars and acquiring wealth the best that we can so other poor people can't have it, and rally with our group to keep it from them, you know, because we got to get home tonight running through New York City. Oh, I'm coming to y'all from one of my favorite documentaries. It was a documentary back in the 70s. It was called The Warriors. You should watch it sometimes. It'll bless you. I might have to show you the trailer. It was all a story about Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and liberals and right and left and neoconservative. Everybody, they just hated in the whites and the blacks and the purples and the yellows and the greens. Everybody had their team. They all had their weapons. They all had their lies. They all had their selective information. And what they did is they fought together They fought against each other for the sake of a wonderful cabal who controlled them all. Hold on, let me show you this movie clip. I got you, because you know what? I watch this stuff and I just get a little tickle. Because I'm like, you know what? I've seen this movie before. Because I'm going to talk about releasing the memo and talk about some tribalism and all that stuff. But I was sitting here, I said, you know what? I've seen these people before. These Democrats and Republicans. Watch this trailer. It's a trailer, so I won't get in trouble. Watch this. I've seen this. I lived here before. This happened in the 80s before.
These are the armies of the night.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The Furies.
Republicans.
The Boppers.
The Democrats.
The Hi-Hats.
The Conservatives.
The Lizzies.
The Liberals.
The Turnbull ACs.
Left.
The Gramercy
The
Riffs.
right.
And these are the Warriors.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
They're from Coney Island.
Warriors? You guys are the big dudes, huh?
Now they're in the Bronx.
We're going back.
27 miles behind enemy lines.
It's the only choice we got.
Between them and safety stand 20,000 cops.
Gotta have the cops.
And 100,000 sworn enemies.
I want them all. I want all the warriors.
All of them.
They've got one way out. They've got one chance. They've got one night. The Warriors.
They've got one way out. It is release the memo. It is edit the memo. There's one way out. It's Hillary Clinton. It's Donald Trump. All right, okay, all right. Let me stop. All right, you know what? Don't be mad at me. I'm not saying anything about your tribe. I'm not mad at y'all's tribe. I'm not saying that the memo ain't gonna come out, ain't gonna change the world. I'm not saying that. It might. You know what? Listen. Anytime somebody's behind releasing some information, I'm always for it. I am definitely on your side when it comes to releasing information. I am just a natural skeptic because I never see wealthy people in the ruling elites go to prison. It never happens. So I don't think it's gonna happen. But I'm behind you, and I hope it does change the world. And I'm your biggest cheer. I'm rooting for you. I'm like, release the memo. I was pissed off this morning. I saw something. I saw the FBI. They're editing the memo. Did you know that? Y'all said release the memo, and they just sitting here editing the memo. Okay, we're going to release it, but hold on. We need to make some changes first. They're changing stuff. They said they're making grammatical changes, and they're putting in punctuation so y'all won't think that I think that's important, too. I think the memos need to come out raw. We need to know if you can't spell. We need to know if you're bad as a speller as Gerard. I want to know that, because if you're defending the freedom of the whole world, I need to know if you aren't better than me at English. That's what I want to know. I think that's important. So I'm sitting here like they said, release the memo. They're editing the memo. And I'm just like, what about Martin Luther King? What about his memo? JFK, didn't he have a memo too? Damn it. 9/11, they had a memo. I want, you know what, because y'all have proven to me you have the ability to bring about viral nature in media. How about y'all start the hashtag release all the memos? Like, what would that would be really cool if we go back to the daycare class or the elementary school class and we teach it like a teacher who wants to know all sides of all the stories. Release all the memos. I want to see how dirty everybody, nasty, funky, everybody booty is so we can make some good some good decisions. All right, let me stop. So anyway, who we got this morning? I'm out here talking to myself. I'm drinking my coffee. Sometimes I drink my coffee, I talk to myself. Then I answer myself, which, you know what? Hold on. I'm talking to myself right now, damn it. Who we got? Hey, Georgia, how you doing? I saw you come in the house, and Elaine and Mary. Brother Steven got to run. All right, well, we're glad that you joined. You can hang in as long as you can, brother. Love you to death. Mandy and Jeannie, Nora, Georgia, we say DC don't like outsiders. Oh, no, they don't like no outsiders, boy. They'll chew you up. DC, a nasty city. I grew up on the outskirts of DC. I would always drive around the Beltway. I avoided every chance I got. They in there shooting, killing, murdering people. Crazy stuff was happening in that city. And no, I'm talking about the politicians, the people, the poor people. They just were trying to survive. They did what they had to do to survive. They're selling drugs, and you got to rob somebody every now and then. You hope you don't hurt them. The politicians, them the ones, oh, hell no. We got to murder people. This guy, it don't work. We don't get the land if we don't murder some people. Let's start going over there and send out AFRICOM. But that was growing up in D.C. All right, anyway, on the outskirts. What's up, Deborah? Olga, Renee. Everybody's in the house this morning. It's a good Friday. Who else we got? Good morning, April. How you doing, girl? All right. Yeah, Olga, it's the Warriors. Good morning. Yeah, you know what? I feel like I've been here before. Hey, Elizabeth and Jasmine. I feel like I have been here before. I'm not against releasing the memo. I'm all for it. Let's get the memo out. Can we be adults though? Can we for a minute, can we not run through the city with bats and bottles and rocks and stones? And can we sometimes a little bit act like adults? Because the way I see this, I see it as the stork landed everybody somewhere in the city. Yeah, I guess there was a New York borough. That's where Warriors took place, didn't it? Landed just somewhere in the city. And because that's your block, you're yelling and screaming for your block. Like there was something back when hip hop, before hip hop, which was a great thing, by the way, rap and hip hop, it was about fun and love and joy and funny stuff before it came about gangster rap and murder and killing people and disrespecting women. That's a whole different thing. Hip hop, gangster rap, not the same thing. But before that happened, around that happened, gangster rap came and they used to yell the name of the cities, the parts of the city where they were from. They'd say, East Side, mother, and they start shooting. West Side. And I'm just sitting here like, man, and I think at that time when that gangster stuff came out, I was the gangster tribalism stuff. I guess I was about 17, 18 when that started coming out. And even at 17 and 18, I would sit back and say, y'all dumb as a bag of bricks. Really? Y'all gonna kill each other because you grew up on this block and that street. And everybody tended to agree with that. Like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Why are the Bloods and Crips killing each other? Now, of course, we didn't realize that it was survival at the time, that the CIA brought drugs in, gave them drugs, and gave them the ability to survive, gave them supply chain, all the drugs, probably gave them the guns too. Free Ray Ross. And they set it all up and everything. And so they got all these kids killed. They got them all in prison. But even back then, we knew, tribalism is dumb. Y'all don't do that. That's just dumb. The Bloods and Crips are stupid. That's, don't do that. That's tribalism. Don't do that. Like, they were forced to do it, right? They were actually forced and grew up in impoverished areas, and the ones who had food and water, they were kids. They had to walk to school. And if you had to walk to school and you got to walk past some Crips or some Bloods, what you going to do? You're going to join the Crips or the Bloods. Why? Otherwise, they taking your lunch money every damn day, if you're lucky. So they did this stuff for survival. But what I don't get, why do adults do it? I don't understand this. This is the part that drives me a little crazy. Because you got food, you got water, you got a car, you got a job. You can go pretty much do whatever you want. Take your vacation, got some sick days because you take your pharmaceutical drugs with it and they make you sick. So you got all that. Why are you in a tribe? Why are you running around on television screaming, West Side, nigga, East Side, Democrat, Republican, like right, nigga, left. Like, I don't understand. I totally get why the kids are acting childish. I totally get why they are in survival mode. I completely understand that. And there's a lot of good psychological work that's been done to understand how to help them and build them up. Why do adults do that? So it bothers me. Tribalism. So anyway, I'm trying to get up to speed. I'm trying to get up to speed on the memo. So I don't even know what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about the memo a little bit. There's a little news out there we can go through, but I want to see what y'all are talking about today. And so I'm just wondering, what is the end game in all of this? like, what's your end game? I get your tribalism, and you want to act like a child. You want to be in a little group, not focus on what's good and bad, but just a group of good and bad, and try to push it on people who don't really understand how all of this works. But what's the end game? So if the memo comes out, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Or is the memo is this a human initiative to make sure that truth is known, that you shouldn't make private agencies militarized, that perhaps when you centrally manage a worldwide, if not nationwide, police force, that eventually it will always become corrupt, that if you have unconstitutional powers that are completely human rights denying, to throw people in cages and force them into labor and slavery, and just basically put a free nation under militaristic style police state control in a soft way, so that they don't know that they are, so that you can keep them dominated and divided, so the military can be used to invade the rest of the world. Like, if we don't know the end game of releasing the memo, if it's not going to bring about more freedom, if it's just about getting back at the Democrats, I know the Democrats silly. I know. I love them to death, though. They silly as any. But it can't just be about getting back at them, right? It's got to be a little bit more than that. Like the right, y'all won. Y'all won. You got your president in. Y'all won. You know, but if you're going to go back at the other Warriors, the other side, the Blues, the baseball team, whatever, you know, whatever they are, we don't get anywhere. You know, we get somewhere if we look at the root cause of the problem. Like the problem to me, it's not that Obama, Clinton, one administration utilized the office of the whatever to do some bad stuff, monitor people, monitor Trump, whatever they were doing. It's that a system exists that allows people who perhaps are scared of who's coming in after them or who's coming in next, or they just want to win. If the system is in place for them to do that, we have to shut that down. Because so to me, the way I view it, release the memo is directly related to why we have no information on who killed JFK, why we don't have the information on them being complicit in doing the same thing to Martin Luther King, why we're not stopping and we're not allowed to know the information about 9/11. And so I think it's all related. If we look at the root cause of the problem, we hate on the game, not the players of it. Now, mind you, I have a different space when it comes to the Clintons. I want them in prison. Ain't got nothing to do with Trump. I want them in prison because they put millions of young children in prison for the last 15 years since they put the crime bill out there and they restarted slavery. I think that there are a lot of poor children, both white and black and Hispanic and Asian and all different ethnicities, who've had their lives thrown away because you've had these monsters in office. That's why I want them in prison. They're not going to go to prison for that. No, and you know why they're not going to go to prison for that? Because the people who support them either they don't know, and the ones who know don't give a damn. It's not their kids. They don't have to worry about it. Not my kids either, but I had some friends who also got locked up into that type of a situation. And so I'm just against slavery. That's it. And it's had nothing to do with me having ancestry to slavery, because we all do. I'm against slavery because it's wrong. I'm against people who abuse children. And the Clintons abuse children. So I want them in prison. But they're not going to prison for that. I'll leave that alone. So, but I think it's all related. I think if you just focus on the people who utilize the abusive system, you don't actually fix anything. You get them back. All right, y'all, your gang invaded their territory. You got some bats. You got to jump on them. You got some hits, but what's the point? They're going to rebuild. They're going to go home, deal their wounds, whatever, get dressed up. The young kids who live in that side on that street, they're going to come up and they're going to get their vests and their baseball bats too. And then they're going to come back and get you in 8 years. What's the point? What's the end game? So I think with release the memo and and edit the memo, because I think y'all pushed out release the memo, and then the FBI, they hashtag edit the memo, and they got that going viral too. That's not viral, but that was funny. That's what they're doing this morning. If we don't get to know the truth If we don't get to know the truth at all, then this is kind of pointless. So, all right, let me see what y'all are talking about, because I had a long little opening this morning. I was having a little fun. I see it as the Warriors. That's how I see it. I just see it as adults feeling the need not because they don't have food, water, shelter, or safety, just feeling the need to group up with some group because they have fears of something, right? Like, that's why people group up against other people. They're scared of something. I understand a 10-year-old being scared to walk to school, get on the bus, pass some gangs, some warriors, some tribal folk, other tribal kids, young folk. I don't understand adults having so much fear that they would join up in cliques, knowing that they're wrong. Because there's always some evil in those groups, knowing they're just doing foul stuff because they're so scared of some other adults. Anytime adults get together and hurt children in their agendas and their initiatives, it's always wrong to me. So let me see what y'all are talking about. So I don't know a whole lot about Release the Memo. I don't, but I think it's funny. I got a lot of friends on the right, and I keep seeing this scrolls up and down my trend, my thing all day, my thread all day long. Release the memo, release the memo. So I tried to do a little study on that. So I was looking at crosstalk, and that's what they were talking. So I think that's what's going on. I'm not sure that folks are focused on the end game. And the brother had a good point in what we just played this morning, is that it seems that both sides' end game, either way, is blame Russia, right? Russia is at fault, this Russian lawyer, whatever. So that can't be the end game. Hopefully that's not the end game, because that's more tribalism. I might have to play that trailer again before the end. That's funny. That was a good movie. Y'all should watch that. Until we want to talk about sovereignty of women's bodies for themselves. Sister Mary, amen, Mary. And I'm with you. Mary, I think that it's your body. I have no rights to tell you what to do with your body. I have no rights to tell anybody what to do with their land. I have no rights to tell anybody what to do whatsoever. I don't have a right to tell anybody to put vaccines in their bodies. I don't have a right to tell people to put drugs in them. I don't have a right to tell you anything. I don't want to tell you anything. It's not my business. I just don't want people to tell me what to do with my body and my place. And I don't want them with this FBI and CIA and DHS and all this crazy nonsense, all these unconstitutional groups that need to be at the state level, which is why I say break them all up, put them at the state level. I don't want them to tell me what to do with my life. I don't want federal government to tell me what I can't do, what I can't, I'm all for legalizing cannabis. I won't smoke it because I'm not a smoke guy. But my neighbor has the right to smoke it. Sick people have the right to smoke it. Old folks in pain have a right to smoke it. And we just have to get back to that place. I totally agree with you, sister. I agree with you, Mary. We have to get back to a place where we're not telling other people what to do with their bodies. I'm from this thing called a religion. That's how I grew up. And my God used to you still tell me that I'm supposed to support free will. My God would go sit with the hookers. My God would go sit with the money changers. He didn't like a whole lot of bad things that people did, but he accepted the fact that they have a free will to do them. He didn't go to Caesar and promote legislation to stop the hookers from hooking. No, he did not. He went, sat with them, ate with them, and drank with them because they're human beings and they have free will. So I had to put that in there. You got to, because people, they like to put the religious spin like, oh, we're supposed to tell people what to do with their bodies. No, that's not it. That is not in any Bible, any religious text anywhere. So don't believe it's about religion. Just remember this: when people come to you with nonsense like that, they say it's a religious effort. It is not a religious effort. It is an effort by people who are political, right? Don't ever. Religions are about loving people and basically leaving them alone. All the major ones I've studied, right? So, and if anyone wants to debate that, we can do that at any time you like. You want to bring your pastor on, have your minister come. I spent way too much time reading the Bible in my life. So we can do that if you like to do that. But it's not about telling people what to do with their bodies. So we got to get past this. We got to get past telling people what to do with their bodies. And to me, that's related to releasing the memo too. But I will say this. Even with that, there are certain things that we have right now that are required, right? So we are telling people what to do with their bodies because we have these unconstitutional laws and these unconstitutional groups, warrior gangs in Washington. I'm not going to group up, though, with a side that's telling other people what to do because now I'm getting told to do with my body. Like, that's not how this works. You're supposed to say, you know what? People are free. I'm going to stand in a position that, nope, they're doing that to your body, and they shouldn't be doing that to your body. And I'm going to step back. I'm not going to join up with a group to fight and make you deal with the same pain I got to deal with, right? And it's the same discussion on taxes, right? I'm not going to go and fight. You got to take more taxes from the rich. Nope. I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? Because if I do that, I'm supporting the narrative that the IRS actually should exist, and they shouldn't. The income tax is unconstitutional. We've known this for a very long time. So why would I join up and try to enforce on somebody the same tyranny or pain that's coming to me? That's dumb. That's like your mama spanking you, and you get your spanking. And I'm like, you need to spank the brother too, because my brother was doing it too. No, take your spanking, dummy. We just in a bad spot. And once you get your spanking, walk away. Don't turn on somebody else and try to put the same pain on them, the unjust pain that came to you. So that's kind of what I believe on that. This memo is just another distraction. It might be, Mary, and this is what I'm a little concerned with, because we get lost in this stuff. Like, I kind of think, Mary, that, and it sounds like there's some bad stuff in the memo, but if it was really, really bad, if it was really, really real, if it really, really would bring about change in our country, they wouldn't release it. They treat it like they do with Nikola Tesla's documentation. They'd redact all of it. They treat it like Martin Luther King's document. They treat it like JFK, 9/11, same thing. So being a natural skeptic, Mary, I agree with you. We're in the same spot. I hope, though, that if there is something in there, both sides take that and they don't make it about Trump. They don't make it about the right or the left. They make it about, damn it, this was done. How in the hell did this happen? This happened because our system has to change, and both sides get behind that. But my fear is that people already decided, and they haven't read the memo yet. They've already decided. They've already decided that, no, we shouldn't release it for national security, or, you know, it's going to bring about, and I'm just like, wait, you ain't read the memo yet, dummy. Just wait. Shh. Shh. Read the memo first. You ain't read, have a hashtag read the memo. Read the memo before you decide. But if there is something in there that's denying of rights, that people don't look at it as like some sort of a thing to go after their politician or their group or whatever, but to say, you know what, this happened, should this happen? You know, because the number one debate that I heard was that, oh, well, we shouldn't release it because of national security. You realize the only reason we need national security is because they got national security? Because they have secrets. That's the only reason people feel insecure. The number one thing Americans are insecure about is their government. They're not scared of terrorists. They're scared of their government. And so the only reason national security doesn't exist, because they get a bunch of people to say, oh, you can't release it because of national security. It's their secrecy that's the problem. It's their secrecy why they're bombing people all over the planet. It's their secrecy as to why they can keep you focused on the dirt that they do. It's their secrecy why we don't get to know the deals that they have with Saudi Arabia that allows it to be okay to starve 20 million people and just kids dying all day long from starvation. And I don't think it's funny to them, but I think they know that if they can keep you stupid on your side with your baseball bat and your bottle chasing other people in the streets, that you're not going to focus on the millions of people they're killing in the street. Like, it reminds me of yesterday. I was thinking yesterday, that video came up, and the video where the guy was drowning. The guy was drowning in the lake in Florida. And the kids were filming it, and they were just laughing. Ah, he's drowning. Ah, they would say it was funny. It's funny, right? And to them. But again, I believe neuroscientists, and I believe behavioral scientists. There's a reason why kids have issues in this country. Major issues. Major psychological issues. Grown up in poverty, watching violent, dumb, ignorant adults all around them. But we get to a point as adults where we look at that and say, oh, that's just horrible. Those kids are just bad. They're monsters. They should be in prison. But then you have adults who are actually, they're not doing a damn thing about Yemen either, huh? You have adults not doing a damn thing about the 400,000 people in the Congo starving. You have adults that don't give a damn about all the kids in the Appalachian Mountains starving. You have people don't give a damn about the kids in Baltimore City starving. So how are you as an adult any different, not giving a damn, than these kids holding the camera filming this guy drown? That was one guy drowning. You know what? Those kids, I understand. And those kids, it was only one guy. We're talking about 20 million people starving in this world right now, and you're okay with it. See, I think you're worse than the kid. That's what I think. I think those kids, there's a reason why they are the way they are. There's a reason why the Bloods and Crips do what they do. There's a reason why the Triads do what they do. It's a reason why all these gangs do what they do. Survival, scarcity, I get that. That's evolutionary. But being an adult, taking the positions you do, supporting the death, the murder, starvation that you do, cheering the drowning and the famine, looking the other way, that's what I don't understand. That's not being an adult. That's being a child. And that's being worse than a child, because the children are supposed to be that way. You're the one who's not. So, all right, let me keep going. Fighting for the streets they don't own. Yeah, thank you, Georgia. Right, and that's how the Warriors work. Oh, that's so good. I love that one. Thank you, Georgia. That's a delicious little nugget. Because it is not the right, the left, the conservatives, the liberals, the progressives, whatever group you want to throw it, the rights, the whites, the blacks, all of them. Aren't they all fighting over stuff that they actually don't own? Aren't they fighting for leaders that don't give a damn about them and actually don't do anything for them, except for maybe occasional chicken bone? So like in the Warriors, in the movie, all the gangs fought for land. It's not even theirs. It belonged to the police, which is why the police went through and just rounded all of them what that they wanted, because their numbers were the biggest. They had the best guns, the weapons, and they could do whatever, and the prisons. So are we not in a place where you got all of these people who, adults, I have to keep saying adults, because we're not talking about children. We're talking about adults who are actually locked in their tribalism, and they're fighting over banks they don't own. They're fighting over laws that are against them. They're fighting over things, land, things that it's not even about them, and they don't even know. They're fighting for health care. They don't even know what health is. They're fighting for gun rights, and they don't realize who got the most guns, you know? But anyway, thank you. That's a very good point, Georgia. Very good point. If it had any relevance or takedown, it would never be allowed to be released. Exactly, and that's what I'm thinking, Mary. And I thank you. I appreciate that, and that's why I don't understand. So maybe somebody can explain it to me, or explain it, however you want to do it. I prefer explaining, but if you can just tell me like why it's so big, and maybe the other side, why are they so angry against it? Like, is it going to change the system? Like, do you really think they're going to really release something? Tribalism is about acceptance and acknowledgement. Right, let's think about that. Tribalism, so it's about acceptance and acknowledgement. You have to expand on that one, Jeannie. I think it is definitely about selective acceptance and selective acknowledgement, if that's what you're saying. It's about people who pick and choose who's human and who isn't. People who pick and choose who deserves rights and who doesn't. People who pick and choose what their religion gets to tell them and what their religion doesn't get to tell them. People who pick and choose, you know, what races are important and which races are less important. People who get to pick and choose whose ancestors get to have blame put on the people who live today versus who don't. So if that's what you're saying, I totally agree. Maxine Waters is the ultimate tribeswoman. You know what, Sandra? I'll be honest. I didn't know who Maxine is. I don't even know. Like I said, I walked away from when I saw everybody was lying. I've heard the name. I have to go back and pay a little more attention. But I don't have time for people who lie. I don't have time for liars. The only reason I got pushed into the State of the Union yesterday because somebody gave me a bad time about it. But people who lie, like, it's just at a certain point in time when you realize they're lying about everything, I start to zone out. Like, you know how you like to explain to your friends about the deep state, the military-industrial complex, and alien UFOs and life in outer space, and people get glassy-eyed? That's what I do when people put the names of politicians. I'm like, I get glassy-eyed. Like, oh, yeah? Wait a minute. Are they in that liar warrior group? Okay, then I don't really pay attention because I don't know what's a lie and what's not. And I don't have a lot of time. Like, this head is only so big. I only want to put stuff in there I can do something with. And you put a bunch of lies in there, then it makes you want to join a team. I'm not joining a team. I have no jerseys. I am a grown man. I have no interest in anybody's team. I don't need anybody. I will stand on my own too, and I'll call it how I see it. I don't have any fear, unfortunately. I wish I did. Life would be easier if I had some fear. I don't have any fear, so I don't have to be in anybody's group. So yeah, I don't know who that girl. I don't know who she is. Maxine Waters. Although I've heard some things. I heard some things. I've heard some bad things. I thought I heard. No, I don't think I heard good things. I heard a lot of bad things. But that might be centric to who my friends are. The memo release will cause more division and duopoly fighting. Yes, Mary, and that's my fear. What's the end game? Is this actually going to help us, or is this going to make it worse? And perhaps that's why they're releasing it, because they know it's going to bring about more conflict, more division, and keep those lines firm. And that's not where we need to go. We need to start to blur the lines. We got to start to do this. We got to start to blur the lines and get back to being adults. Take the lines down. Who said that? Reagan? Mr. Gorbachev, take that wall down. I remember that one. Memo will take down folks on both sides of the aisle. F both sides, just drain the swamp. Okay, Georgia. Okay, I didn't know that. I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope that people, but that's the real question. Do you think people are thinking like you do? I know you think like an adult, right? But do you think other people are thinking like that? Like, are they just going to push for like certain sides to pay a price and others not? And are they going to get upset when neither side pays a price? Are they going to get upset when nobody goes to? Because I live in I've never seen the ruling elites go to prison. I've never seen that. I've never seen it. I see people go to prison for just doing little silly dumb stuff, but I've never seen, because I see a different set of laws. And so what is the end game? See, so to me, even before the memo comes out, this is when people, I think, need to be talking across the aisles and coming to that agreement that, look, whatever's in the memo, we're going to make those ruling class, the ruling elites, to pay the price, and we're going to change the system so this doesn't happen again. Yes, it's all related, Georgia. Thank you. It is all related. It's definitely all related. What memos are we talking about? Oh, Jasmine, we're talking about the release the memo, girl. Get up to speed, girl. You don't know what's going on. The world about to change. We about to fix everything. We're gonna release the memo. And I don't even know the memo. I don't even know what's in the memo either myself. But so apparently there's a memo floating around, and it has something to do with using, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but using the FBI and the CIA to spy on a presidential candidate by the name of Donald Trump, which is supposed to be unconstitutional, it's supposed to be illegal. Those powers should not exist, but it happened. And so that's when he said, I've been wiretapped, when he got on the TV that they're wiretapping him. I feel the same way. I turn on my phone, sometimes I hear a little click. But that's going back in the 80s. When they wiretap, you won't know anymore. They're wiretapping you right now. I tell you a story. When I first went to college, one of the first classes I had a professor who just explained to us. He said, you know what? He said, underneath Fort Belvoir, I think it was, you know what? I'm getting so old, I don't remember if it's Fort Belvoir now. Fort Belvoir or started with a Q, Quantico, whatever base it was. He worked as a contractor for AT&T, and he worked on the project to roll out the mainframe systems that were at least a quarter-mile long underground of mainframe systems that recorded every single phone call in America going back into the 80s. The reality is we've always all been lied to. They lie about all of this. They've been recording all of our conversations for a very long time. They've had software to parse through them and figure out what we're talking about, who we're talking to, and they record all this. And they've always been doing it. And they get away with doing it because we are locked in tribalism. They actually don't have to tell us the truth because we don't have the ability to tell them what to do. Like the tyranny we face is based on the ignorance in us tribing up and not calling foul and accepting it because our leader said it or our leader did it, and falling in with identity and tribal politics, right? That's how they've robbed the whole world. That's how they can murder kids every single day with drones all the time. And nobody can say anything because we don't actually run our country. So, all right, let me see where we're at. The ruling class controls what can be released and what isn't. They've already decided what we can see in the memo. Yeah, and then Mary, and that's the funny part is they're already changing the memo. They're already changing it. And, it's just like, how would we even know if what gets released is actually what was in the memo? we would have no idea, you know. So release it, yeah, definitely. But also we got to use some common sense. Oh, you know what? I did see something this morning. I did want to show you something. I want to show you something this morning. I did see something which I watched this and I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I can't. Half the time, I don't believe this stuff is real. This is something in the news that I want to show you. Where are we at? Where are we at? Go down. I did want to, because I was like, really? Oh, here it goes. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Watch this one. I was like, are you kidding me?
The Pentagon has acknowledged that it conducted an unsuccessful missile defense test on Wednesday. The missile was launched from land and failed to intercept an incoming target launched from an aircraft over Hawaii. A Pentagon spokesperson confirmed the incident yesterday during a press briefing.
It did not meet a...
All right, so we're going to stop. We're going to stop for a minute. So the Pentagon wants the world to know. I got to make sure I narrative. I got to put the Pentagon wants the world to know Hawaii's not safe. We had a missile defense system in Hawaii and it doesn't work. Shh. Don't tell North Korea. Don't tell anybody. Hold on, let me finish. I can't. Hold on.
Their objectives, but we'll learn something all the time with these tests, and we'll learn something from this one, and we'll continue to improve our capabilities.
All right, to shed light on the issue, Michael Maloof, a former Pentagon official, is joining us live. Now, Michael.
Hold on. It's like me taking out an ad in the newspaper. You know, I just got my new flat screen TV. I closed all my bank accounts. I got $20,000 in my mattress, and I got a whole house equipped with Google Home and all the electronics and everything. And damn it, I can't seem to figure out how to get my security alarm working. It's just not working. And if anybody can help me with that, let me know. Maybe I'll fix it myself. Eventually, I'm going to fix it. And I go to work at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I come home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Please don't rob my house. I'm just dying. Like, the Pentagon? Really? Like, seriously. Like, stop playing. Come on. Y'all, you know what this is. This is a Hawaii setup. This is totally Pearl Harbor. This is like, yo, bomb Hawaii. Listen, if I lived in Hawaii right now, you know what I did? Hawaii, y'all need to move. Hawaii, y'all just, the whole damn country, like everything. Are y'all a country? Y'all a state? The whole damn state, y'all just need to like pack the whole state up and y'all need to move because y'all being sold the hell out. They want Kim to take a shot at y'all and blow y'all. And this is, so I wasn't sure about the whole missile, like the missile thing. This is what I'm saying. You wait, don't say nothing, and eventually the truth will come out. Because these people, they're not as smart as I think. I think they might have been the slow kids in class. I think they weren't as, they couldn't, you know, had the C student, C minus something. Because they'll release stuff, and it's just like, are y'all serious? Like, you really, let me finish it. I'm talking, it blows me away when I'm going to shut up. I'm shut up. Y'all watch it. I just can't believe
this happens. You're always the person who has like the right information for us. So let's get to the Trump administration. They have reiterated support for development of this missile defense using the North Korean nuclear threat as justification. However, after this latest test failure, what is the future of a system like this?
Well, there's no other choice but to continue trying to perfect it. This is actually a modification of previous models of the SM-3, as it's called. It's part of the, it's off of the so-called Aegis platform, a type of missile that's about ready to be deployed in Romania, for example. They have a lot of bugs, and you got to consider too that when you're shooting a missile like this, it's like trying to knock a bullet hit a bullet with another bullet.
I'm going to stop there, which is why in the 80s, when we went to the air shows, we saw the airplanes, the C-141s, where they actually mounted a laser on the front of it, and they were shooting missiles down with lasers. They've solved that problem a long time. And this was in the public domain back in the 80s. And so if they solved this back in the 80s, it meant that they actually had it in the 60s, okay? So this idea that we don't have a missile defense system that can shoot down, this is lunacy. This is crazy. And now they're trying to take it and they're twisting it and saying, oh, you know, I didn't finish. We're going to let him finish. Hold on. I'm trying to pretend that he's saying the truth. And we don't have missile defense systems that actually utilize lasers. They probably got photons now. They probably got, what they got on Star Trek, phasers. They probably got phasers now. This is all a lie. But like he came out here like he's limp. The Pentagon needs some Viagra. He just came out here limp, like, yeah, our missiles don't work. We're trying to take some Viagra. We're gonna try to get it up, but it's hard. These things are buggy. We can't seem to get it up, and we can't defend us. I can't believe this is reality. Hold on, let's because they try to make it political. It's like disaster capitalism all over. They want to bomb Hawaii, just wipe Hawaii off the map so they have an excuse to go to war. Like, this is crazy.
It's very, very difficult.
It's difficult.
And
I can't get it up.
What's a little disturbing is that this is the second failure since June, I believe.
I tried to get it up, and couldn't get it up.
And they were both shot under controlled conditions.
It was controlled.
So if a missile is fired in anger from, let's say, North Korea, and it's coming in at a terrific speed.
I don't know. If a missile's fired in from, I don't know, some country, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Colombia, I don't know, Iran, North Korea. Oh, wow. Is that the example that you give? North Korea, huh? Oh, okay.
The likelihood of that missile hitting that incoming is going to be extremely difficult. Again, that would not be under controlled conditions. And if the North Koreans, for example, were to do a swarm approach with 4 or 5 missiles at a time, it would absolutely overload the system. So something's going to get through. So the system itself needs a lot of work, and you're talking about technology levels that are still in the infant stage, and it's very difficult. What they're talking about in some cases is maybe working on like a modified SDI, or Strategic Defense Initiative program, and actually having launchers in space, because that's going to be an important future actually in trying to down missiles or even satellites that could in effect be nuclear weapons. But I think that for now the best time really to hit a missile in this case would be once it's launched, just after it's launched. But it could be a test, and that's one of the dilemmas facing policymakers and defense experts as to, is that missile a test or is it the real thing? Mm-hmm. And that's so there's a long way to go in this development program, frankly.
Michael, I want to go back to something you brought up just a bit ago, North Korea. Of course, missile tests don't happen in a vacuum. There's the political situation as well. If the Pentagon isn't sure its missile defense system is reliable, is it a good idea for the U.S. president to be provoking North Korea by engaging in a war of words with Kim Jong-un?
Well, I take your point, and the answer is absolutely not. In fact, that feeds his narrative.
Does that sound like a guided question? Does that sound like they got ahead together early on and they said, you know what? All right, we got to do something. Okay. I'm going to ask you this question. And then you say answer this. And I'm going to ask you this question. And lead it in and see, you say this. And then we're going to take around and turn it into, and I'm just like, oh, my God. I'm not even going to watch the rest. Like, it's just, and so they turned it into this whole hold on, I'll let you play the last minute so you can get this little anti-Trump thing in.
That the United States is really out to do away with his regime, and survival for Kim Jong-un is absolutely critical and essential. And so any kind of military exercises, any sending B-2s from Guam to do practice runs over just south of the North.
All right, I'm going to stop. Look, listen, the North Korea thing is over. It is over. It has been over. North Korea has nuclear weapons. Russia admitted it. They actually can hit Hawaii. They can hit the eastern United States. They can hit throughout Europe. The conflict is over. They're trying everything they can do to get people scared, to get people worried about it. Kim Jong-il is not that stupid. He is not going to fire a missile at Hawaii. But if they can get people scared, right, because fear is how it works, which is why they did the missile drill, which is why they're releasing this too. And I think it's why, because I don't really know why. Again, I'm in the 99%. I'm a commenter. I'm not allowed to know the truth about anything. I just look at stuff, and I think it's funny that it's not clear that they're walking people into this sort of fear. But if you live in Hawaii, you should probably go ahead and move. This This is crazy, man. You know what? But you know what's not crazy? What's not funny though, is people actually were hurt during this fake missile thing, which was not an accident. This fake missile text that a ballistic missile was coming to Hawaii. They did that intentionally. They were pushing kids down in storm drains. And I'm just like, man, we got to get smarter than this, because they keep pulling this stuff. All right, I don't know. Every time I see somebody from the military-industrial complex, they always come on camera. And they say a whole bunch of stuff. Well, we got the Aegis system, and it's a G-74, and it's got a ballistic missile and go 500 miles an hour. It can just, you can hit troops, it can blow up stuff, it can destroy planets. And they start talking about like it's a Death Star, like it's just this testosterone explosion. Like they just come on camera, and all I hear is zip. They zip down the zipper, pull out, boom, put it on the table. That's what we got. And this is the first time in my whole life, 40-some years, that I've actually heard someone from the military-industrial complex say, you know, we can't even get it up. It's Hank. I know that's bad. All right, let me stop. See what y'all are saying. Maybe y'all know something I don't know. Let me see what y'all are saying. Let me see what my video is buried way down on your page. Finally found it. Oh, really? Yeah, well, you know what? They sometimes they like to play with me. Hold on, let me make sure I don't know what's happening. Sometimes they come after you and it's like, oh, we don't want you talking about this, but you know what? This is the game, y'all. This is the game. And I don't have any illusions of what the game is. Like we were talking about yesterday with the FDA coming out declaring they're God of the world. They own microbiology and all flora and fauna, and they can dictate what's medicine and what's not. What plants been here for 1 billion years that are useful and which aren't. It's how the game is played, right? And I'm not a fool not thinking that this is how I understand who owns Hollywood, right? I understand that every movie that comes out of Hollywood is always going to have a little bit of a liberal spin, because you have to be liberal and you got to be extreme liberal, you know. So I get it. I get that a lot of my favorite actors and actresses, they come on television and they'll say just ridiculous, dumb, ignorant, extreme left type stuff. But that's the game, and they get the game. They want to have a sitcom, they want to have a television show, they can't go out there and just say whatever they want to say. They can't be Bill Cosby and Wesley Snipes and I forgot the other guy. There's a whole bunch of them. You come out and you say anything that's not super left, check the box. You know, you got to be for this, against this, for this, against this, and it's just ignorant vaccines and all this crazy stuff that they want. You get decasted. You lose your job. You lose your sitcom. You lose your show. So, but this is how the game is played. You know, they'll play with the feed. They'll play with the volume. They'll play with, you know, now the bandwidth, because the whole net neutrality and all of this stuff. But that's the game. You know, if you're a holistic doctor, you might disappear. That's just how it goes. But you know, if you step up, I think if you step up to any sort of a telling the truth stuff, you got to understand that you're going to make a lot of enemies and all the warriors, right? All the gangs, the tribalism, they're all going to come for you, which is okay. Just make sure you know your truth. You can stand on your own too, and deal with it as it comes. Only logical people like me. Only logical people, only intellectuals tend to like me, because I'd be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I be wrong. See, I can't even speak right. I be wrong all the time. And I'm okay with that. I'll say something. One of my friends corrects me. They send me a link, some facts or something, like, oh, wow, I was wrong, and keep moving, you know, and they don't like that. To be in a tribe, you got to agree to the tribe. And when it's time to be a cannibal and take the baby and carve it up and eat it and bomb it and get some drones, you got to be willing to do that, because that's what the tribe is. You got to check the box, you know, because this is how we're going to bring about a peaceful world. We're going to murder a bunch of people, and peace is going to just come out of nowhere. It's going to just jump out of our anuses. So I don't believe stuff like that. This reminds me of when New York decided to make people register guns, and that became part of the public information. So then, oh, yeah, and they printed the map that defended exactly what addresses had gun permits. Yeah, and that is spot on. Good example, great example, right? When they published who had guns and where they were at, and it's just like, we're silly. bull crap. They're pulling both our legs, y'all. Yeah, and I think they are, Sandra. I think that's what that's about. I think that they're playing this game to try to see, one, if they can luck up, if Kim is dumb enough to actually shoot a weapon, which he's not, and to make it believable that they don't have the systems to shoot it down, right? Because they do. And they could have stopped Pearl Harbor. And that was another great conspiracy, conspire theory. I don't like conspiracy. I like conspire theory. That was another great one, that they knew Pearl Harbor was coming, that they had all that information, that they knew, and they actually got the aircraft carriers out of there just in time so Japan could attack because they wanted to get in the war. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that's my greatest fear about how this is playing out, is that they're actually trying to make it believable and plausible that we don't have high technology that can shoot down a missile. Of course we do. And if we didn't, we wouldn't be bragging. We wouldn't be trying to take over the whole world. We wouldn't have, how many bases do we have? Like 1,000 bases now all around the world. We wouldn't have that unless we had the ability to stop some sort of a nuclear attack. We are completely surrounding Russia and China, and they know that. And that's why they're balking against us, I think, to a degree. That's assuming Russia and China exist and they're not just different departments of an oligarchical business. But I don't know. Release the truth. Yes, Mary, release the truth. So this doesn't sound right. Sounds like RT was given fake news to throw off North Korea. It's what I do. Yeah, Joanne, and I think, but you know what? I'm not even sure if it's giving RT fake news. Like, I'll watch RT because I like RT. I think RT tells more truth than any American news outlet about America. But RT will also lie when they need to, just like Al Jazeera will lie when they need to. Just like, because Al Jazeera, I don't know if they got caught lying, but it just made no damn sense that in Iran, they were having protests because they wanted America to invade, because they hated their government. So they wanted America to invade and kill 10 million children to overthrow their government and do regime change by Washington, who's never had a successful regime change ever in its history. They've always just ended up getting a lot of people killed, destroying a country, breaking an economy. So I think that they all lie. But that's why we have brains, right? That's why we have critical thought. That's why we can't be in the tribalism, in the warrior. I can't be an RT warrior because eventually RT is going to sell me something because they want me to believe something. That's how this works. I think when you become very powerful as media, you get to a place where you can control people's minds. But if the people don't own their own intellect, if they've given their intellect over to a left, a right, a conservative, a warrior, gang, blood, crip, whatever, then they can walk you into those beliefs. And so I question everything. I look at it, it doesn't look right to me. But whether it was fed to RT or they did it intentionally, I know everybody lies. That's why we have to question everything. Those missiles out in space could just as easily be turned towards the United States if we wanted to rise up and fight back. Yeah, Susan, and that's I think you're getting into, the future of warfare is hacking, and that's very true. The fact is that when we make these highly technologically advanced weapons, they're not really just for us, because once you turn over the control to a circuit board, you control over the board, the control of it to software, it doesn't matter who invented it, doesn't matter who deployed it, and doesn't matter who put a sticker on the side of it. Whoever controls that missile system, that laser weaponry, is whoever runs the software that's running on that machine. And I'm going to tell you something, and it comes from all of my many decades as an IT professional. There is no secure computer system anywhere in this world. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, one, because they don't want it to exist, because they carve holes, back doors into everything. But it's also, it doesn't exist because no matter how secure you make something, there's always a way in. And people always do find a way in, which is another interesting thing, because, they actually could design it. They can orchestrate a false flag and say, well, hackers broke in. If North Korea actually didn't get his message, they could say, well, hackers broke in, Russian hackers, and they launched an ICBM and it hit Hawaii. And unfortunately, a lot of dumb people will actually believe that. which is why it's important, I think, that we do start talking about the truth and we do start breaking down these tribes and these little warrior gangs of adults, building up trust amongst each other, remind each other that they're all human. They all take off their pants one leg at a time for the most part. And so when these things happen, people know who they can trust and who they can't. You trust people you know. You trust people you relate to. The people you don't know, the people who live a few blocks down in another gang, you don't know them. They're not as human as a person you see on television who would never call you back or text you back. You know, magically the others become someone that you don't see regularly or you don't talk to. Kim Jong is a comedian that works for the military-industrial complex. Oh, Mary, you just want to give me some conspiracy theories, don't you? You just, but, you know, I kind of I was thinking about that a little while ago. I think we were talking about it a few months ago, and I kind of think that might be spot on. I think it might be spot on because I don't believe in this world where there's any other fight other than haves and have-nots, right? The haves have, and they all want to keep having. It actually is very illogical that Kim Jong-un isn't allied with the 1% around the world. It actually is a stretch to accept the idea that Washington, Kim Jong-il, Russia, China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the leaders of all of these governments aren't all in league. Because at the end of the day, the people in power, they just want to stay in power. And at the end of the day, they all seem to always know what team they're on. The only one I would say that's probably outside of the circle of love, the circle of love against the have-nots, the dummies and the 99% that they always get to fight each other. The only ones who are outside of that might be like Qatar, right? When you see something that just doesn't make any sense, they got an embargo around Qatar. It's possible that maybe they fell out of love with the 1%, and the 1% all got together and decided, you know what, they're not in the graces anymore. So if it came out that Kim Jong-il was, they got a picture with him at the resort, and you got Obama here and Trump here and everybody hugging and loving, and Clinton over there, and I would not be one bit surprised. I wouldn't even bat an eye. I would just like, yep. You know what? Mary said that. I think that might actually be true. I don't believe in have-nots fighting have-nots over things that none of them actually have. Somebody said that earlier in the thread. Thank you. Al Jazeera lies too. I know that. Yeah. And that's the thing. They all do. They all do, which is why when you hear something that doesn't make any sense, you got to say that doesn't make no sense. Nope. That I've never seen the military-industrial complex come out and actually say that they're having trouble getting it up. Their missiles don't work. I have never heard that in my life. That makes no sense. So I don't believe none of that. You know what? The other thing. Oh, I want to show you something else. I want to show you. Can I show you something? I'll show you something else. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here soon, but I want to show you something else that came up. And I think. Oh, you know what? No, I'm not gonna show you that one. Yeah, well, I guess there was a couple of things in the news that caught my attention this morning. Oh, by the way, posted a video yesterday. If you didn't go out and fill out the form to tell the FDA that they are not God and they don't control microbiology in plants that have been grown on this planet, because the FDA, if you didn't watch yesterday's, it was a late one, they came out and said that they're basically going to outlaw all homeopathic medicine. And in order for something to be legal, they have to check it. It has to be generally accepted as safe by them. So if you hadn't gone to yesterday's links, my friends posted a bunch of links, and it's all on my thread. Go tell the FDA in a nice way. In fact, the form fills out for you. You really don't even have to do anything. Just put in your name and your information, telling them that it's not their place to go after medicines that we've been using for 5,000 years. Okay. A couple of things. I'll go through this real quick. Oh, this is ridiculous, but I don't want to show you that one. I was looking at, oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you about it. All right. Well, this is what we're doing. I guess this is what we're doing. I'll show it to you. This is what we're doing. It's silly to me. the things that we actually spend our time on. This is what Nissan did. So going on the conversation of cars that are self-parking, look what the elite have, y'all. They got self-parking shoes. Oh gosh, we got kids that can't even get food. And we got Nissan has self-parking cars. So if you go and you're a 1% in Japan somewhere, and you got slippers and you're walking around the spa, all the slippers, the funky slippers, they'll go park themselves. This is what automation is being used.
Last year in October, we released the new Nissan.
All right, that's not what I say. It's ridiculous. We don't own any of this technology. All of our ancestors developed all the base of what all that technology developed on, so they don't really own any patents, but we don't get to dictate what the technology is used for. So it's always used for greed. It's always used for the 1%, some little dumb idea that has nothing to do. Meanwhile, you got people drowning in lakes and people who actually need these sorts of technology to be utilized for the human race. Baltimore's falling apart. I'll show you this one. So
Murder rates in the city of Baltimore skyrocketed in 2017. With 56 killings per 100,000 people, a new record for a city that already has a reputation for being dangerous and crime-ridden.
But actually, this is related. Think about this in terms of the police state and released a memo in rogue, corrupt police state agencies.
Few cities embody American urban decay more depressingly than the city of Baltimore.
Baltimore struggles with a record high murder rate.
Murder is out of control.
Yes, Baltimore, there is a robust, active crime strategy.
I'm gonna skip to the end. I wanted to show you the end. So, of course, Baltimore's falling apart. It's becoming one of the most violent cities in the world. But this is just a fact of poor people will do whatever they have to survive. So we already know this. You always reply when people start talking about it. It's just scarcity. People will always do whatever they have to survive. The interesting part, though, is that we're deploying police to fix the problem. And we found out this is a real life, what was that show? That documentary, Training Day. So they actually caught all the police, sticking drugs in people's pockets and dealing weapons and things like that.
Years in prison, and 6 of them have already pleaded guilty and are now acting as witnesses in hopes of softening the looming verdict. And their lawyers claim the officers feel guilt over what they've done.
Mr. Jenkins is extremely remorseful.
Mr. Jenkins is extremely remorseful. Right. People actually feel remorse for taking kids, planting false evidence on them, and putting them in prisons. Yeah.
He's been remorseful for a long time.
Yep, and the FBI is remorseful too. But they're going to release the memo. They're not going to edit the memo. Listen, if you're an adult, you're over 26 years old, you got a frontal lobe, you make your own decisions, you need to pay the price. If you're under 26, then you should not be subject to human laws because you don't even have a human brain yet.
Even before these charges were brought. And he's relieved that today, finally, he was publicly able to accept responsibility.
Are their clients sorry for what they did?
Of course he is. He's sorry.
Is he regretful of what happened?
I really don't have any comment.
Meanwhile, officers' cases continue to be dismissed with hundreds under review. And most of them involve incidents of officers switching off their body cameras to plant drugs or guns and then reenact seizing the evidence they had already planted.
All right, so keep going. People, hold on. And let me say this before we go here. I'm going to talk about Stalingrad for a minute. So we need to look at one of the worst wars that's ever been, one of the worst battles that's ever been fought for people who want to keep cheering the military industrial complex from the cushiness of their sofas. Police deal with scarcity too, right? Like this is how it works. If you watch the documentary Training Day, it kind of explains it to you. Scarcity is what scarcity is. The police are they are us, right? When they don't have, they will do the same thing that the young kids in the cities have. They'll do the same thing that the adults do who lose their jobs. They will go to whatever extreme they need to pay their bills, to pay their mortgage, or try to get ahead in a society that's based on competition, and largely cheating the system is a great way to get ahead. And so they do that. But the answer isn't to go after the police. So it's the same stupid thing. This is why they want you to focus on the police. This is why they want you to say police need the body cameras, not the politicians. Because if the police have the body cameras, it fulfills this narrative that going after the police is actually going to fix something instead of fixing the society, the broken system, and the laws that are written by the politicians. This is why the politicians need to have the body cameras, not the police. That's my take on it. Watch this. One of the most devastating battles ever fought. The life expectancy of a Russian soldier was 24 hours. This was the battle. Oh, it was a great movie that actually talked about it. Forgot the name of it. But it was about how they just kept pulling train up after train after train of Russian soldiers and just dumping them in the battlefield. They pulled them up. Half of them didn't even have bullets in their guns. Half of them didn't have guns. They had mops to look like they were guns. And they just kept putting body after body after body after body, because this is what people do. When you invade a country, you invade their land, you invade their city, you invade their town, you don't allow them to self-determine, and they will fight to the end to keep their land. You know, some could make the debate that the Russians trying to take, this was a letter that someone who died wrote to, I probably should have showed that, but we're getting late on time. So from the cushiness of your life, war can seem like a really good idea, but you have no idea what war is until you talk to people who've been through war. And when you do that, you still won't have a great idea what war is, but you get a good indicator that it's a real bad thing that we don't ever want happening wherever we live in our cushy neighborhoods or abroad. So anyway, I'm pushing late. I'm gonna have to bring this to an end. You guys have a great weekend. This is Gerard. Love y'all to death.